get us off to a really good solid track for this year. And let me just tell you a few things about Jason. Jason is from a company called Sales Partners Atlanta. Some of you may have heard of Robert Kiyosaki and those type of, that gentleman. He works with that organization, and his goal is, his number one goal is to make entrepreneurs like us rich. That's his main goal in life. But let me just read a few things about him. There's about 6 important things you should know about Jason. Jason is the founder and CEO of Sales Partners Atlanta. Jason became the first franchisee in Sales Partners worldwide franchise history. Immediately, his team generated over $100,000 in revenue in the first 3 weeks when he took over. Previously, Jason worked as the vice president of Sales North America for the division of Aon Group, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. So he knows a little bit about insurance, guys. That's kind of why we handpicked him to come here. What he did was he did a massive distribution channel, and he grew revenue by 125%. And he generated over $6 million increase in revenue in just 2 years under his leadership. Over the past 10 years, Jason has personally worked with thousands of owners around the country. He increased sales and cash flow from 15 to 85% with everybody he worked with. Jason has an MBA from the New York Institute of Technology. He graduated with honors. Check this out. This guy is sales motivated. He has a major in economics. You know, so the guy's pretty deep. He has a BS in economics from the University of Illinois. Jason is happily married to Karen, his wife of 6 years, with whom he's raising 2 children. He was just in Chicago a couple weeks ago. He saw me in Chicago in a snowstorm. I said, I said, hey, I hope you can have fun. Make sure you make it back here on time for this meeting. And without further ado, let's introduce Jason Time.
So how many of you want to have a bigger game in 2009 than you did in 2008? How many of you do not? All right, good. So I've been talking to a great crowd today. How many of you have ever at least had one good idea? What have you had at least? Somebody else. How many of you have ever had a good idea and you felt like a legend in your own mind? I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm Jason Time. You read a little bit about me, but I do know a lot about your industry. It's actually the first thing that I ever did. In college at University of Illinois, I got my insurance, my securities licenses, and I went out and I opened up my own branch. When I graduated, I had 2 branches in Chicago, and I had 1 branch in Iowa. Did that for about 5 years before Aon Mothership called me and moved me down to Atlanta. So would you like to be the Vice President of Sales for North America for 15,000 independent financial advisors and insurance agents throughout North America? And I said, sure, I'd love to take on that task. There was one problem. What do you think the problem was? I had not get my wife to move. My major job, what do you think my major job as Vice President of Sales for an insurance company was? What was the one thing they wanted me to do? Increase one metric. Increase premium dollars to Aon. Now, if you're not familiar with Aon, they're one of the 4th largest insurance companies in the world. They own companies like Transamerica, Monumental, Western Reserve Life, Intersecurities Incorporated. And so my job was to increase premium dollars, and I had to go out and help train 15,000 independent advisors by predominantly work with the top 30. These are the guys that will not get out of their hotel room unless they're wearing at least $40,000 to $50,000 worth of gear, $35,000 of which is around the wrist. A Rolex, $4,000 of suits, $2,000 in accessories. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. My job was to deal with these 30 Type A Eagle personality people. So my job was to herd cats, get them to motivate their teams, and get them to increase premium dollars. Guess what my budget was to do it? 0. Who wants that job? How many of you just wanted to go be an agent? All right, so I had a problem. I had to train 15,000 people, increase premium dollars, knew what kind of a personality they were. I had been in the business, but I had $0 to do it, so I did the only logical thing. What was the only logical thing I could do? Right. I did a lot of that. I had to get help. Right? So what I did was I went up on a big training. I want to go and train these 15,000 people over 2 years, and so I needed help. So what I did is I went to the bookstore, and I pulled down every single sales and business growth expert book that I could think of, and I flew them into Atlanta, and I interviewed them. All right? So Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, Dennis Waitley, Chris Widener, you name them. I sat down with them, I talked to them, I interviewed them. I said, here's my dilemma. I got 15,000 people I need to enter or to train, increase premium dollars, and their eyeballs lit up because they heard one word: 15,000 agents. Guess what they heard? Cha-ching. Money register. What didn't I have? Money. So guess how long that process lasted? Not very long. As soon as they heard $0, 15,000 people, these people want $40,000 to $50,000 just to show up. They want to be able to sell X amount of books in the back of the room. I had read, how many of you are familiar with Robert Kiyosaki? Wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, as well as this awesome book, Cash Flow Quadrant. I had read this book when I first became an agent in 1997. A couple of years later, I was interviewing one of his Rich Dad advisors, Blair Singer. Blair Singer is an international bestseller in his own right. He wrote the book Sales Dogs and the ABCs of Building a Business Team That Wins. And this is his latest book, Little Voice Mastery. He's one of 4 Rich Dad advisors. He is the best friend of Robert Kiyosaki, and they've been best friends for about 25 years. He flew into Atlanta. He was one of the last guys that I interviewed. I sat down with him. I said, I'm going to make this really, really quick. 15,000 people to train, $0 to do it. What do you got? He said, no problem. No problem. We'll make this work because entrepreneurs, you all, raise your hand for an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs need to know a couple of things. First and foremost, you need to know how to create something from nothing. And secondly, you need to know, build a championship team to drive it to fruition. So he says, no problem. We worked out a deal. Over 2 years, we trained 15,000 agents. During that time frame, we increased our distribution channel 125%. Premium dollars went from $900 million a year to $1.5 billion a year. And as the marketing department and sales department, our budget of $0, not only did we increase sales $600 million, but I personally put over $1 million into our company's bank account that went straight to the bottom line. How many of you would like to know how I did that? We're going to talk about it a little bit today. But Blair asked me an important question at the end of that process. $600 million to the company, $1 million into the bank account. What do you think the question was? How much money did I make? You have the ability to get results and drive business. And I knew how much money he was making because I was the guy writing the checks. Right? How much money did you make in the process? See, there's a difference between being an employee and there's a difference between being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, and generating wealth and generating intergenerational wealth. When he says you need to be in business, more importantly, you need to be in business with me. All right, so that's what I did. I quit my job and I went into business with Blair and the Rich Dad Advisor Company. There's one thing that you need to know when it comes to selling and everything. So, is everyone clear? Turn to that person next to you and say, this is going to be good. All right. Selling requires one thing. Selling requires what? That was very pathetic. I was asking a couple of you on the way, and I said, you guys better have a lot of energy. I said, you better be my cheerleader when I get in here. So selling requires what? Energy! One more time. Selling requires what? Energy! Selling requires energy, because in any selling situation, the person with the highest energy what? Wins. If you don't believe it, I'll give you my 3.5-year-old boy, Davis, and let you take him to Toys R Us. If you don't know about it, how many of you have kids? All right? If you don't know anything about it, I'll loan you him, and you'll last probably 20 minutes. Can I have this toy? No. Can I have this balloon? No. Why can't I have the balloon? What color is the balloon? How big does the balloon blow up? How many balloons come in the pack? I mean, it's just relentless. He doesn't know, right? But somewhere along the line, you all had that, but somewhere along the line, you subsided it, your subconscious let go of it, you don't have that kind of energy anymore. So selling requires energy. There's another thing that sales equals. So everyone got this?
Yes.
All right. Turn to your neighbor, make sure that they're awake. All right. All right, sales equals something. What does it equal? Income, right? So sales equals income. All right, no sales, no incomes to any of the businesses. Does everyone make sense? How many of you need some more sales right now? Who wants more income?
Yes.
All right. So how many of you said that you have read the Cash Flow Quadrant before? Show of hands. How many of you have not read the Cash Flow Quadrant? All right, good. Learn something today. All right. If you have read the Cash Flow Quadrant, it's important for you to know and understand this. All of you deal with individuals, you deal with employees, you deal with business.